Have you heard about Abigail, the wise, beautiful woman that married a fool called Nabal? Now, there is a twist to that story which I want to bring to you today. When most people hear the story of Abigail, they hear about a woman of wisdom, a brave woman, and a foolish husband. A future king saved from making a terrible mistake by this wonderful woman. That is what we hear most of the time. But if you read the story carefully, the book of 1 Samuel, a far more uncomfortable truth begins to appear. What if Abigail was not just wise? What if she was strategically disloyal? And what if the story is actually a warning about the kind of woman a man should never marry? To understand this, we have to start with the husband. The Bible introduces Nabal as an extremely wealthy man. He owned 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. In the ancient world, that level of wealth did not happen by accident. Managing thousands of animals required organization, discipline, and leadership. Nabal was not born yesterday. At some point in his life, he had clearly made enough good decisions to build a massive estate. And there is another detail many people overlook. Nabal was married to Abigail, and Abigail was described as both intelligent and beautiful. Think about that for a moment. A foolish man rarely attracts a woman known for intelligence, and an incompetent man rarely builds a fortune large enough to sustain thousands of animals. Which means something interesting may have happened in Nabal's life at one point. He was likely capable enough to build wealth, manage people, and attract a remarkable wife. But by the time we met him in the story, something had changed. The Bible now described him as harsh and foolish. Whether it was arrogance, age, pride, or complacency, Nabal had clearly become difficult to deal with. Then one day, a request arrives from the wilderness. The request comes from David. At the time, David was not yet king. He was a military leader living in exile with a band of warriors. While wandering through the wilderness, David and his men had been protecting the shepherds who worked for Nabal. In the ancient time, this type of protection created an expectation. When harvest came, you shared food. So David sends messengers to Nabal with a respectful request. Give whatever you can spare to your servants and to your son David. But Nabal responds with arrogance. He insults David publicly and refuses to give him anything. To David, this wasn't just rude, it was humiliation. David immediately orders 400 armed men to prepare for revenge. A massacre is about to happen. And this is where Abigail steps in. When one of the servants tells her what happened, she reacts immediately. She gathers enormous supplies: bread, wine, sheep, grain, raisins, fig cakes. Then she loads everything onto donkeys and rides out to meet David. So far, this looks heroic. But if we slow down and examine the details, something more complicated is happening. First, she makes the decision without consulting her husband. She does not confront him. She does not try to persuade him. She simply bypasses him entirely. Second, when she meets David, she publicly undermines her husband. She says, "Pay no attention to that wicked man Nabal. He's just like his name, a fool." In other words, she insults her own husband in front of another man. In modern parlance, she threw him under the bus. But then she goes even further. She tells David that God will surely make him king of Israel someday. And she asks David to remember her when that happens. Look at that, just look at that. This is often interpreted as prophetic wisdom, but it is also a political alignment. In that moment, Abigail positions herself on David's side, not on her husband's side, not on the side of her household, on David's side. She pledges allegiance to David's future at the expense of her own husband. Then she gives David the food. Think about what that means. Nabal had already refused David's request, yet Abigail overrides her husband's decision and delivers the supplies anyway. From David's perspective, the conflict is resolved. The insult is forgiven, the provisions are accepted. But from Nabal's perspective, his authority has just been quietly dismantled. When Abigail returns home, Nabal is drunk and celebrating. She waits until morning to tell him what she did. When he hears the news, as Bible says, his heart fails within him. 10 days later, he dies. Shortly after that, David sends for Abigail and she becomes his wife. To many readers, this looks like divine justice, a wise woman rescued from a foolish man. But if we step back and examine the sequence carefully, another interpretation emerges. Abigail did not help her husband repair his mistake. She used her wisdom to bypass him. She publicly discredited him. She aligned herself with a man threatening her husband. And within days of her husband's death, she married that same man. Now, this does not mean Abigail was evil. She was clearly intelligent, strategic, and politically aware. But those traits raise an important question about marriage and family, because marriage is not tested when both partners are wise and acting correctly. Marriage is tested when one of them makes a serious mistake. And in those moments, a spouse has two possible roles. You can help your partner correct their mistake, or you can quietly protect your own future. Abigail chose the second part, and that choice saved her life and gave her a fresh start. But it also destroyed Nabal's leadership and authority in the process, which leaves us with a difficult lesson. Wisdom alone is not enough in marriage. Intelligence is not enough to run a family. Strategic thinking is not enough, because without loyalty, those same qualities can become tools of self-preservation. And self-preservation inside marriage or family can easily look like betrayal. The deeper question in the story of Abigail is not whether she was wise, but clearly she was. The real question is this: when your worst moment comes, will your partner help you fix your mistake? Will they be on your side? Or will they quietly begin aligning themselves with the person who might replace you? That tension is what makes the story of Abigail so powerful and so uncomfortable at the same time. Because sometimes the people praised for wisdom are simply the ones who knew when to switch sides. That is the real implication of Abigail and Nabal. Let us know if you think Abigail was a wise and virtuous woman. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and continue watching. Thank you.